Call this meeting to order. We begin this meeting by acknowledging that we are on the land that is being inhabited by the Anishinaabe nations. We would like to acknowledge that the land on which we gather is traditional territory of the Sagamore Anishinaabe. We would like to give thanks for sharing this land. Whereas there is a quorum of council present, time is 6 p.m. Be it resolved, this regular meeting be open for business at the Massey District Community Center and Arena, and at the minutes of the regular meeting of June 8, 2022 be approved. Dale and Tim here, all in favor? Carried. We have a couple of things that add to the agenda there. Be it resolved, the following be added to the regular agenda. There is C1 Agoma Front Street Water Main Project, E6 invoice from Perry and Perry Architects Arena renovations there. F2 a JL Richards update on clear licensing and zoning review. More in a second. Kevin here.
I'll second, Sheriff.
All in favor? Carried.
So the first item is we talked last meeting about the procurement policy and updates to the amount. So currently, department heads are authorized to make purchases for goods and services up to $1,000. Any item over that and under $5,000, department heads to obtain treasurer's approval. This change would be to increase the department head's purchasing authority from $1,000 to $2,500. All other provisions would remain in place to give more flexibility when managing their department within their approved budgets. So if there's any comments or concerns?
Tim?
Well, I put some time into this and came up with some thoughts. So I'm just going to kind of read it out to you, and you guys let me finish it, and then we can discuss it. So from the bylaw 2005-04, it quote, have a bylaw to provide for fair, transparent, and accountable purchasing and tendering procedures, and thereby to protect council, vendors, and staff involved in the process of providing clear direction and accountability. End quote. This purchasing bylaw is to help make sure that everyone at this table and department heads can answer to the taxpayers without question, that we are all doing our jobs the best that we can. This bylaw to provide for procurement policy and procedures is outdated and should have been updated long before 2022. I recommend that this bylaw be reviewed and, if necessary, updated annually. Department heads do have a need to increase their purchasing authority. Not all department heads need the same increase. Raising purchasing authority to $2,500, I feel is too high. I recommend that we make a two-tier department head for the purpose of this procurement policy. For example, Tier 1, Public Works Department and the Fire Department. Tier 2, the clinic, clerk, treasurer, park and recreation. I recommend Tier 1 purchasing authority be raised to $1,800, which is an 80% increase of what we got now. I recommend Tier 2 purchasing authority be raised to $1,400, which is a 40% increase. This will allow future councils to increase the amount in smaller increments as they see fit, following the rate of inflation. If department heads require more money, we do have a process to follow in the purchasing bylaw. Up for discussion.
Any comment, anybody?
Well, it sounds like it was well thought out, Tim. I don't know about going to tier. It all goes through the clerk, for starters.
Well, the treasurer. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
clerk and treasurer.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm for sticking with one increase. Now, I don't know if that should be 2,500. That was the number we threw out there. When was the last time that was updated?
2005.
2005.
So my thought was I deferred comments of 2 or 3,
Yeah.
so I went for the middle, and yeah, not speaking about inflation, everything, it's been years since
Yeah.
of that increase. And I understand where you're going with public works and fire too, for a two-tier, but also I don't want to make it so complicated that, okay, you're this, you're that. It's simple. Any mechanical repairs, things like that, are often over 1,000 right off the hop. And just for timing, it's really hindering them trying to come wait for me or come to me and the back and forth to try to get it done. So if it was a little higher, they could still make their calls, call around, can I get in, what's your price, can I do this, and then get it done. And not waiting to come and see me or if I'm available to see them kind of thing.
So I agree with what you just said. If it's a little higher, we were at $1,000 today.
Yeah,
We want to raise it up to 25. That sounds like a big increase.
yeah, I understand.
So a little higher is, like I'm saying, 1,400 is a little. And on, like where I'm suggesting the tier 1, 1,800. 80% increase is what I'm saying
I'd
there.
say at least 2 from what I see in the office, Tim.
Yeah.
I say 2 would be fair. 1,800 still a little low.
And what about the 2-tier? You're saying 1?
I don't know if that's necessary, but I see your thoughts on that, and that could work as well. Like, I'm not against that.
Yeah, and like I say, as far as the, the second tier, you are, like those groups there, and I'm not saying I know which group should actually be in there, I just thought about them. I said, okay, these are the big spenders. The clerk and the treasurer, you guys have already access to the money. If you need more money, like a large sum of money, you're right there, you can make phone calls, you can get, you can follow the process to get that money very quickly, almost in one day. You get, you get quotes and send me a quote email, boom, bang, and then you got the quotes. And then you have a limit of 5,000. So that's where I was coming up with this. You have the limit of 5,000 that you can almost process in a day, right?
Yeah.
Like if it was at tier 2, that's how quick you can do it. The people in the public works department, and fire department, they're fighting fires, right? All of a sudden something happens, something breaks down, you gotta get it fixed. We can call someone up, no, I can't fix it today. This guy can fix it, okay, well, let's get it there. They sign for the bill. That's where I was just thinking, so.
I think that what you have to remember that this is based on the approved budget.
Yes.
It's not for extra funds outside of the budget, which would need further approvals. This is so that when they're just doing their everyday purchasing, repairs, whatever needs, when they have to get something either by or that at $1,000 they have to get the treasurer's approval. So this just eliminates that step where they can still go about doing what they're doing and it just make it the process a little smoother. If their budget is already at the max, then they've got to get approval from council. So that doesn't change that. I just want to make sure that you understand.
And that's a good point.
Yeah, so it's not to do with extra funds from the budget, it's to do with the
Which
funds
was
that
our
are.
next comment as well.
Yeah.
So it's not.
They have so much to spend
That's
in
right,
the year,
yes.
and if they get to that.
That's right.
Now
It's just our purchasing policy says that if they're spending more than this at one time, they need that next level check before
Right.
they go ahead.
So what I understood from the last meeting, Ruth had someone go to her, say, and they had overspent on that allowance. And, she was trying to follow the procedure, and that's why we went from 1,000, we needed more. And all I'm saying with those numbers, like the 80% and the 40%, we can come back and address this in 6 months. We can come back and address this in a year. But, anyways, yeah.
I like your idea, I like your numbers, and this way here, at least council's gonna know what's going on with some of the spendings, because it's irritating when we as council don't know what something was spent on, or what somebody purchased that, and we represent the ratepayers, and they do ask questions, so I like your ideas.
Well, it's still not gonna go to council. It's just the treasurer's approval level. Before it followed, none of this goes, it doesn't go to council until what's the threshold?
5,000.
5,000 goes to council.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so up to then, it doesn't matter what is happening up to that point, it's still the treasurer's approval that needs to be given. So, you know, quarterly or monthly budget reports is where you'll see the money being spent.
So
And
what-
you can question, but so like the day-to-day stuff, you're not gonna know until you get those budget updates.
But we
As I
can
understand-
ask anytime.
Well, exactly, yeah.
And as I understood too, it was for
Transparent.
timeliness, right?
Yes,
Since
it
it's-
is.
It was for
Efficiency.
timeliness, and you said 05, so yeah, it's.
You take those number of years, and
Yeah.
if you did a percentage each year,
Yeah.
what percentage will we be at
already
now?
at that,
You know?
yeah.
And it seems high, but it's
Yeah.
because we've never
Never reviewed it.
Yeah, it's-
changed it.
It should.
And I feel
Yeah.
for our municipality, the other thresholds are working fine. I did review it, I don't feel
Yeah.
like there's an issue there, and I feel things over. Because we really don't have that much in an instance where public works or fire have gone over 5,000 that we're bringing in. Just like you said, just the bigger emergency repairs of the trucks and stuff is when it comes to council and stuff, so,
And I sit here thinking, that we do have to rely on our department heads,
yes.
you know, to do their job as well as they can. But they've been able to do it
Yep.
with the $1,000 limit.
Yeah.
Shouldn't we sort of say, okay, go 1,800 limit, and that number I'm just throwing out there,
Yeah.
1,800 limit, let's see how you do.
Yeah.
And come back in 6 months.
Yeah.
I mean, it's as easy as come back and have a 15-minute discussion and, oh, no, we should have went 2,500.
Yeah, yeah.
Sort of thing.
And that was 25 is my recommendation, you can absolutely have your recommendation. And it's council's decision.
Sure. So
Yeah.
let's-
Any other comment, anybody?
No, I want to stick with the 2,500.
Cheryl?
I'm good with 25, just because what repair bills are costing now. And parts. And parts. I know it's a big step, but it's 17 years
Almost 20
since
years.
anything was changed. And prices have at least tripled on a lot of supplies.
And like Ann says, once it goes over budget, it's coming to your attention anyways. Once we start seeing that, like I find fuel, everything is skyrocketing right now. We are, like I'll send you all after June this next quarter, the statement of revenue and expenditures, and you're gonna see like, especially the fuel cost, it stands out like a, so I made the department heads aware of that, but I can't tell them not to do anything.
Yeah.
Like you said, they still gotta go fight fires, they still gotta,
Fuel the
so,
trucks.
but, you know, just be aware, that, like Cheryl said, the cost of repairs, parts, getting parts, it's
Okay.
really affecting us.
Dale, where do you want to go with this?
I'm against the 25,
So what number?
no more than 2,000.
Edie?
I like the 25 just because I know it's tripled, and I remember everything we were saying about the timeliness of being able to do things with back ordering.
Kevin?
I like the 25, I think we should stick.
I could go to 2. Yeah, I like the 2. If we don't like the 2-tier, I'd say the 2,000 mark.
Well, it's 3, 2, and 4, 25, so 25. Be it resolved that bylaw 2022-27 being a bylaw to amend bylaw providing for procurement policies and procedures to be read first and second time. That's in regards to this here. Kevin, you move it there? Cheryl?
Okay.
All in favor? Carried. Be it resolved that bylaw 2022-27 being a bylaw to amend bylaw providing for procurement policies and procedures be read a third and final time, last month the council. Move it a seconder. Pat, Aaron, Edie, all in favor?
She just wants to her. Yeah.
Carried. Go ahead.
I just received from WSP, the confirmation on the tenders that were sent out for the Algoma Front Street water main replacement. So JI Enterprises was the lowest tender, so I have a motion to accept that tender as recommended by WSP. Now, as far as funding, if council wants the numbers, I have that. So the funding received between the federal and provincial funding, we were receiving $1,082,293.79. The tender net of GST or HST is $1,327,124.25. That leaves a difference when we add in our HST expense, a difference of $247,866.92 that the township will fund, and the budget was $395,000. So there is another $67,000 in engineering costs. So we're still within budget by accepting this tender.
We don't have this on our tablets, do we?
Yeah, you should have.
What date was that?
Today. I just got it today. I sent it out.
It was on your cost. Be it resolved that per the recommendation of WSP Canada Incorporated, the tender received from JI Enterprises in the amount of $1,499,650.40, including HST for Algoma Front Street water main replacement project, be accepted. Kevin, you move it there. Ken will second it. All in favor? Carried. In regards to library board, anybody got any concerns in the minutes? Sure.
Was there incidents that caused the panic buttons, Kevin, to be installed? I just don't recall reading about them in previous minutes, that's why I just.
No, we had
Did
one.
something happen?
We had, no, there was no instance. But Massey had one previously, and it was out of order. We felt that we should get one at each location.
Okay.
People are working alone a lot,
Yeah,
and so it's done.
I just wondered if some,
No,
good. That's good news. Thank you.
problem.
Okay, be it resolved, the library board minutes of May 26, 2022 be accepted. Mover Kevin and Tim here. All in favor? Carried. Be it resolved that the Walker Community Center board minutes of June the 13th, 2022 be accepted. Anybody got any concerns here in regards to minutes? Can I have a mover and a seconder?
I'll move.
Cheryl? Edie there? All in favor? Carried.
Next, we had a request from the Agricultural Society for exemption from the noise bylaw for the weekend of the fair. So it is proposed from the Friday evening to the Sunday evening that for the mud bogs, the midway, and the music entertainment that will be on site over that weekend.
Anybody got any concerns there? Hearing none, here, be it resolved that the Mass Agricultural Society be granted a permit for an exemption under bylaw 2021-09, bylaw to regulate and prohibit noise in the township in order to provide outdoor music entertainment, midway, and motorized vehicle competitions located at the Massey Agricultural Society property from 4 p.m. on Friday, August 26th to 6 p.m. on Sunday, August 28th, 2022, and further that the permit fee be waived.
I'll make the motion.
Dale, move it there. Seconder. And Pat there. All in favor? Carried.
request is from the Agricultural Society as well for the, for council to designate the fair as a municipally significant event for their special occasion permit.
Anybody got any concerns with that there?
But I assume they're gonna have police on site, or security or something like, yeah.
Have we ever had any issues with noise and complaints with the Massey Fair? Like, I mean, I know it's been going on for a long time, and the community doesn't complain about that. No.
I don't think there's been complaints at the fair. I think years ago when the motocross was there,
Yes?
so it would be when the motocross was running, when the fair wasn't. We used to get complaints about the noise from the motocross, but.
Be it resolved, the Council of the Township of Sables-Spanish Rivers acknowledges that the Massey Fair is a long-standing public event that holds municipal significance for our community, and that we have no objection to a special occasion permit being applied for the Massey Fair from August the 26th to 28th, 2022. Move on a seconder. Edie there and Kevin, all in favor? Carried.
Next item is a request from Annual Lake Lodge to, they want to set off fireworks on July 3rd between 9 p.m. and midnight, which is outside of the noise bylaw.
And you actually spent 25 for that permit?
Yes.
Can we leave the date somewhat blank there, because if it rains there, they want to hold it next night there, but
Well, so they can do it on the 1st without an exemption, but it's just, that's the night they want to do it.
if it rains on the
But,
3rd there, can they do it on the 4th
I
there?
just needed, do they have a plan?
I'm trying to think.
We don't want to hold your hands there.
Yeah, yeah, you're right, if it rains on the 3rd, it's not gonna rain.
Not gonna rain.
It's not gonna rain. Is there a way to do it over a 2-day span, for that, and have a clause?
I mean, it's
maybe
just
that
these are
says
dates that,
For
Or
a
rain
third
date,
only,
like that.
or something, so it's, yeah,
Rain date, whatever.
yeah. Worst comes to worst, they'll watch it in the rain.
Yes.
Yeah.
They'll still go
Yeah, I was
off.
gonna say,
They'll
everybody
still
can
go
just sit
off.
outside and watch.
so you think they would do them the next night?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they come in on a Saturday.
July 3rd or 4th, whichever day it doesn't rain.
Yes, weather permitting. You got 2 kicks at the can. If it's raining, just put on a poncho.
I do have some points on that bring up. So we're talking fireworks.
Yes.
We're talking a Sunday night. People have to go to work on Monday. We recently have had a letter sent to us, and noise was brought up. When we talked about the trailers, a couple, 2 meetings ago, noise was brought up. Waterfalls Lodge area, I sent everyone that email. Noise was brought up late at night. I was just wondering if that request can be going from 9 to 11.
Sure.
I mean, rather than 12 o'clock,
that easy.
then we're at least thinking, I went on Google Earth, and there's a lot of people around that lot, and I said,
Yeah.
you know, I am retired now, but I remember going to work, and I remember fireworks going off, and, you know, you have no choice but to listen to it.
Yeah.
But,
I had said like earlier, it would be as soon as dusk happens.
Yeah.
And then pull the plug, because I am not working late that night.
Yeah.
So.
so that's all I
Yeah.
was thinking about.
And I think too, they were being mindful of that. It was
Yeah.
just a window to cover that,
Yeah.
but absolutely. I know that they want it done early because it's also a lot of kids.
Yeah.
So we don't want the parents staying up late too. So yeah, you can amend the time, absolutely. It's not an issue.
Saginaw had fireworks last night and it started shortly after 10.
Yeah, because it's so
much money.
It was earlier than
Minutes
that.
worth of.
Pardon me?
It was earlier than that. I watched it all from my house.
I didn't hear it before 10.
And I'm sure most of the people living around Andy Lake Lodge are aware that fireworks are going to be off because
Yeah.
news travels.
And I mean,
Everybody will watch.
it's also a costing too. You
Yeah,
get about
it's
15,
very
you
expensive.
get about 15 minutes worth of,
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay, there's your thousands of dollars.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
So
Exactly.
it'll be a short show, but it'll be something.
That's what I was thinking too. I figured it was gonna be over. I just want people to think that we're thinking of the other people that have to get up and go to work. And, you know, I remember having to get up at 4 o'clock and
Yep.
you're listening to fireworks, you have to do it, but
Okay, be it resolved that Agnew Lake Lodge be granted a permit for an exemption under bylaw 2021-09, bylaw to regulate and prohibit noise in the township in order to set off fireworks on July the 3rd, 2022, between the hours of 9 p.m. and midnight, and further that should it rain, this exemption shall apply for July the 4th, 2022, between the same times.
So you're gonna choose that for
I'd like to
midnight?
midnight.
It's anytime in between, so.
Well, that's true.
She changed it to 11.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
in
Yeah.
between,
I'll make the motion, Les.
Dale will move it there, seconder, Cheryl, all in favor? Carry.
Next item is an invoice from Perry and Perry Architects for, they were the architect for the renovations to the arena. And this was going back in for approval to council back in May, April, May. But the building inspector didn't have the final documents to say that everything was completed correctly. So we finally have that confirmation, so this is for approval to pay them.
Okay, be it resolved that the invoice for Perry and Perry Architects for the Master District Community Center and Arena upgrades in amount of $22,600 be approved for payment. Move in second, Kevin there, and Pat there, all in favor?
Next is consent file 2202 as applied for by Richard Presso. This consent application is to provide for a new lot in the rural zone. Our municipal plan review, Ontario Ministry of Ag and Food, there's no agricultural activity within 500 meters of the subject property. I understand that there is there are cows that are grazed, is that right?
That is-
But they leave, correct? They're
Well,
not
it's
housed?
considered agricultural activity on lot 5.
Okay.
And you said Ministry of Ag and Food are not aware of that?
No, our review, we show that there's no, you don't have a barn for the cows, they're just grazed and then they leave, they're not there year round, is that
Right.
correct? Okay, so that's why we've said that there's nothing within the 500 meters that we need to apply minimum separation distance standards to. This property is subject to municipal drains, the McGinnis drain. There's no municipal servicing for water supply. Private sewage disposal is required. Proposal is compatible with adjacent land uses. There are no features identified on M&R mapping on this property. We did think that there was, if you look at our official plan map, it did look like there was some provincially significant wetlands, but consultation with M&R, they said there's an inconsistency between their mapping and ours, so it's not an issue. Ministry of Culture questions related to known archaeological sites. There are no features to protect. Ministry of Transportation does not apply. Northern Development Mines application is not within a significant planning area of interest. In the official plan, rural area, residential uses, the permitted uses include seasonal and permanent residential uses. Lot size conforms to the OP. And zoning, residential and seasonal uses also permitted, access by year-round maintained municipal road, River Road. Circulation was in the roundabout on June 7th to landowners within 60 meters and also Sagmuk and Anishinaabe First Nations.
Anybody got any questions?
I'm not sure where I'm supposed to, Declare this, but I'm gonna,
Oh, okay. No,
Declare.
just, it'll go in the minutes then.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
so is this where I was?
Well, it usually, the forms just get filled out and brought back to the
Okay.
clerk, so.
Any other concerns, anybody there? Be it resolved, the consent application file number C-22-02 is applied for by Richard Pressel, be provisionally approved this 22nd day of June 2022. The land subject application is composed of land in the township of Salter, Broken Front Concession, Lot 4, parcel 6561 and 6240. The purpose of this consent is to allow for the creation of one new lot in the rural zone. It is hereby provisionally approved with the schedule of conditions attached here too. Road allowance, that if a survey is required, the road allowance is deemed to be approximately 33 feet from the center of existing roads in front of the land to be severed and be surveyed, and together with other road allowance that may be on this existing survey, be conveyed to the township of Sables-Spanish River as an applicant's expense, and appropriately certified that the township title is free and clear of all encumbrance. The township has a good and marketable title. Public road, that the township requests that the road on the applicant's land deemed to be approximately 33 feet from the existing road and approved by the township be acknowledged as a public road, and if shown on a survey, title of these public roads shall be conveyed to the township at the applicant's expense. No deviation. The official survey must not deviate substantially from the application. The applicant must provide a copy of the draft reference plan to the municipality. Administration fee, that $100 administration fee be paid to the municipality. That pursuant to section 65-1 of the Drainage Act, RSO 1990, the applicant is responsible for having the drainage assessment proportioned appropriately where a municipal drain affects the subject lands. No arrears, that there are no arrears owing to the municipality by the applicant unless payment is guaranteed by the applicant's solicitor upon closing. The applicant shall cause a restriction under section 118 of the Lands Title Act, RSO 1990, to be entered in the parcel registered for the benefiting parcel of the severed portion to read follows. No transfer of the land shall be made or charge creating unless the consent of the township of Sables-Spanish River is obtained.
I'll just explain that last one. That's because there's a portion of the property that is on the opposite side of River Road as it comes down. So that portion cannot be transferred on its own because the road would create a natural severance. So this property has to stay all together, and that clause permits that.
Any questions, anybody here about this? Can I move to second? Dan?
So I do have a question regarding the extent of the property on the other side of the road, which is Crown land. So it would appear, according to the information that I received, that the new boundary would be up to the point of that Crown land. So that the retained portion would include the land on the other side of the road, whereas the property to be severed would be adjacent to Crown land across. Is that correct?
The severed portion is the kind of the bottom half of the whole parcel, and does include a small strip on the east side of River Road, because at that point River Road is running north-south. So there's a small strip which abuts the Crown land. So that little strip.
Okay, so I'm looking at this map, and you see that line that goes across 455 meters. It goes to the road.
Yep.
Directly opposite, there's another dotted line there, so that little triangle there would go with the parcel to be severed.
No, see, the original, it's two parcels that are on one roll number, and I'll come over and I'll show you the assessment map then, because it explains it a little better. Because it does get confusing with his dotted line, which takes a portion of the one lot. So here's the assessment. So all this is one property right currently.
It was
So
a lot
he
on its
wants to
own
take
there,
it,
but
which
I
I'm
guess
talking about
Richard
here.
said binding
Part
there,
of this
but
62
part of
is
this is
65, 61.
The lawyer combined them
So
here.
this will be, it's not gonna be divided in half, but it's just parcels.
Because normally, I always understood that a road divided property, so that doesn't operate for so long.
That boundary?
Understood this. Yeah.
You understood?
I said, I always
Yes, sorry,
understood
that- and that's what that last
if a
part
road divides
Is that
a
this
piece of
has to
property,
stay with this?
that the other piece of property,
This
that
is
the
not
road
natural, this is
made the severance
here,
to,
this
could
whole
be
thing
sold.
has to stay together.
But the mayor says it's, Mr. Trestles put it all together on one lot, so that's why it can't be both.
Well, I was gonna say, I don't think it would be too small.
Yeah, the hydrant is right.
Plus it could end up in the river.
Well, that's what I was talking about.
No, it's too far from the
Oh,
river.
it is too far, yeah, you're right.
It's 1,000 feet there or more. Any other concerns, anybody? Can I move in a seconder on this? Dale? Kevin, you're all in favor? Carried. Mr. Presso will clean that corner out there, you can see right around it there in the last week or so. See you next one, Joe.
Okay, so our next item is the memorandum that Jill Richards has prepared with our next steps in updating our zoning bylaw to allow for council to create and pass a licensing bylaw. So on review, the official plan does not need to be updated because it currently permits temporary habitation of RVs and campgrounds and on residential lots. Though the amendments that have to take place are within the zoning bylaw. So they currently do not have any allowance for RVs or habitation in RVs. So to do that, we can, the timeline, when I talked with Sarah briefly, she couldn't come here tonight, and the phone system doesn't work all that great to have her on speakerphone. But what we're proposing is we could advertise the changes to the zoning bylaw of the public meeting. That would go in the July, I think it's the 5th edition of the Roundabout, so that the July 28th and 27th council meeting would be the public meeting for the zoning bylaw amendments. And then there's a 20-day appeal period. And so the, when that was, once that's passed, if there's been no objections, then the changes to the zoning would be in place, and you could have your licensing bylaw ready to implement at that time. So she still needs to create that licensing bylaw for council to review, hash out what you like, what you don't like, before it gets to the final stage of approval.
Thanks for providing the township with the North Shore information.
Yeah, those are just samples of ones that are, you know, yeah. I mean, there's good points. Everybody's got some good little things that when you read, it's like, oh, I hadn't thought of that, you know, that, and that's what Sarah will do. They've done this for other municipalities, so she will take ones that are out there and create something that meets our needs for our type of, you know, huge rural area that we have, and in keeping in mind with the resource recreation zones as well.
So anybody's got a piece of property, you're gonna have to get a permit now.
Well, if that's what council wants to do, if council wants to pass a licensing bylaw to permit travel trailers on lots, this is the process. We first need to amend the zoning to say that we will let people habitate in RVs and that they have to have a license. And then you have your license bylaw to permit that. And then we can regulate where they are, what they're doing with their black water, their gray water, their septic. You can control noise. You know, people run generators
That's
nonstop, and that, if you're living right next to that, that can be, you know.
And how many can go in the
Exactly,
lot.
and so all that consideration council,
Yeah, we've got work.
exactly. So at least by amending the zoning, like if we do this, we can get this done fairly quickly. And in the meantime, I'm sure she'll have draft versions of the bylaw that council can review and then hash out exactly what you want and move forward that way.
And then will that also address the campground issue? That's the other.
We're gonna make sure it does.
Like it will be part of that, like if
Well-
you want to make a campground, this is what you have to do.
I mean, that's already
In
in
place.
It's already
place.
there.
The details for a campground are already in place. It's currently not permitted in the rural zone, so regardless, you would need a zoning amendment to allow for that. And go through the process, the public process. This, I don't.
That an applicant would put in, I want to get this zoning changed,
Yes,
okay?
yeah.
Carry on, sorry.
And so that is a public process, so very similar to the consent. It's a 120-meter radius that you give notice to surrounding residents that this is what the person is applying to do. People have the opportunity, there's a public meeting, people have the opportunity to voice their concerns or support. And council has to take that into consideration. They approve or deny, and regardless, there's a 20-day appeal period after that anybody could, if they, think about it and they decide they want to appeal. And if not, if there's no appeals, then it becomes in effect and they go through with their, whatever they want to rezone to do.
And then for this incident, then he would apply for a license. If he got his zoning,
No, if you're applying for a campground, which is already a permitted use,
yes,
we already have criteria for a campground, but it's not permitted in rural zone. So if you want to have a campground in rural zone right now, you can apply for a zoning amendment to allow for that. Here's what you have to do to have a campground, you can have it.
okay.
Right now, it's not permitted. So this licensing bylaw is more for, you want to have a camper on your vacant lot, and you want to have maybe two, you and your in-laws, whatever, each going to have a camper on that. Well, the licensing bylaw will say fine, but you're going to apply, you're going to provide a site plan, and this is how you're going to prove that you're getting, where you're going with your waste, what are you doing with your garbage, all those things will take into consideration on this licensing bylaw, which is more control that the township will have on, rather than people just setting up a whole pile of campers on a lot.
And so we have to decide how many trailers we want to allow on the lot.
Right.
Depending on the size of the lot also.
Well, the size of the lot, what we're gonna charge, what's acceptable for,
Now, I can see this, I can see a purpose for this. Someone
Yep.
buys a property, Uncle Tim and Uncle Joe are going there, they're going to build a cottage together. They bring their trailers in, they're running into septic, they're doing everything right, so they've gone through this procedure. But 2 meetings ago, it was almost like they was wanting a business.
well.
Are we providing anything in this bylaw where she's working towards us to solve that situation? Because that's what we really
I mean,
want to
that
solve.
avenue is still there. That's already there, and we're not changing, I don't believe we're changing that avenue. If you want to have a campground,
Yes,
then you need right now a zoning amendment. I'm not sure if I look at what she's proposing, because a number of years ago, campgrounds were permitted in the rural zone, and council took them out because they felt it was more appropriate in a resource recreation, like your waterfronts, for people like Cutler Lake Lodge has the campgrounds, Agnew Lake Lodge, they have those camper sites.
Yeah.
So really out in the middle of nowhere, not on water, the rural zone, it didn't meet the, if you call it like the vision of the township. And that's what the zoning and the official plan are. It's kind of like, you want growth of this type in these areas. So when you start mixing things up, then you're not being consistent. So, I think,
She does say about campground on page 2 of 3, she mentions the definition of what a camp.
mhm.
The problem was he had a campground, but he didn't go through the legal steps to.
So this is, yeah, so campground's already permitted, it's not permitted in the rural. What she's saying is that zoning amendments need to allow for the use of RVs for temporary habitation on a lot outside of a campground. So right now, everything says you can have one in a campground. whether or not council wants to put campgrounds back into the zoning, so that if anybody in the rural zone does want to start a campground, it's permitted, they don't have to go through the zoning amendment process if we're doing it now, and if that's the general consensus of, to allow that use again, that can be part of the amendment, but they still have steps they have to follow. We've already set out in the official plan and the zoning, the size of the individual sites, they have to have septic, that, you know, there's power considerations, all of that is already set up. So it's as simple as putting that as a permitted use again within the rural zone. And if that's what council wants, I can relay that to J.L. Richards so that they include that in the zoning amendment that she's going to prepare.
Basically, we put the horse, the cart before the horse.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think it was up front either.
No,
You know,
And
if you're
I-
gonna run a campground, you're supposed to do it as a business.
I felt that his people thought that he was, and
Well,
I, like, perhaps they thought he was a campground and had to, they gave that flavor as well, so,
I
but.
got the feeling from him that, I hardly charged him anything enough to cover.
Yeah.
I didn't like it at all, I'm sorry, but it's like, that's not a legitimate campground.
So if you want campgrounds back in the rural, because there are areas that are rural that are on close water, like the river, but I mean, there's special considerations for the Spanish River.
Yeah.
There's the flood elevation and that
Yeah.
things have to be kept back a certain distance. So,
But the way it is now, it's not a hard no, it's just you have to do this procedure.
that's right.
Exactly.
Well, and it has to go,
Like anyone else, right?
surrounding property owners will be consulted, right?
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, and
That's
this,
the-
everyone will be, like, this will get posted in the, around the road, because that's what we use. It won't, we can do general flyers in mailboxes as well if we want to cover everything for the zoning, but I mean, normally it's when it's site, because normally we're doing site specific. So
Yeah.
it's, you have a point to measure the 120. This is an overall, so it's just we have to publicly notify people, and so it'll be the township website and the roundabout issue that people will know that that's being considered.
And I think since it's such a hot topic at this time, that it would probably be ideal to let everyone in on it, not just the 120.
Yeah, we can't because it's not a specific
Yeah.
spot. We have to do, it has to be
Yeah.
general
For
notification.
changes to the event,
Yeah.
to amend it.
Right.
But just to rehash that one more time,
Yeah, sure.
Ann, that official plan that we have,
Yes,
that situation could have been resolved without any going forward with this company to redo a bylaw. It could have been done, and if it would have been done properly, there wouldn't have been any upset people,
Maybe.
right? Maybe?
Maybe.
Well,
Yeah.
he
Yeah,
could
I mean,
have
yeah,
rezoned
like
the
it is.
campground
that's right.
and, got approval from council
Yes.
and carried on forward.
That's
That
right.
wasn't done.
No.
That's right, right.
So by doing this new bylaw, we're actually solving a problem that we really don't have.
Well, there is a problem.
Oh, there is a problem.
There's a problem in
Oh, we have a problem.
across the
Oh,
whole
okay.
municipality.
That's just one instance.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Having to bring all the other,
And living on a lake, I kind of
Right,
clue in pretty
so-
quick what you're saying.
yeah,
There is a problem. So, yeah. So
right?
good
They're
stuff.
buying yeah.
But what do we think about, like counselors, what do we think about getting the campground into this bylaw? I don't see a reason for it.
No, no.
Unless I'm missing something. I don't.
No, because there's already
An
Yeah.
avenue.
an avenue to
Yeah.
pursue, if that's
Yeah.
what you want, it just wasn't pursued.
Yeah.
So it's not like we said, no, no way, no how, no whatever, it wasn't even initiated legally,
Right.
is the problem.
Right.
Gotta
And
follow the
there's
rules.
already
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
in our
Yeah.
bylaws
Do it
that
legally.
cover it, and we're just gonna be double decking.
Yeah.
Right.
And our clerk doesn't see a reason for that.
No,
No. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, I don't have a whole
Unclear.
lot of people coming and saying that, hey, I want to start a campground.
Right.
The other problem, Tim, is that there are places on the river with 7, 8 trailers or bunkies, what you want to call them. 2 lots down, there's another lot with 7, 8. And it's like, there's questions about where the waste's going. police are being called there. So these are considered vacant properties, and so the level of taxes that are paid on them
Yeah.
don't reflect police services, ambulance services, anything like that. So, and, you know, those are basically clandestine campgrounds, you know? And so the people that live there, I'm not talking about the campgrounds, but the people that live in residences alongside there, it's party central all weekend, the noise is unbearable, and so that's what we really gotta look at here. And you know what, there's lots of trailers on lots in the township. And some of it, I would assume, are just, it's kosher with the residents around it. But moving forward, if that's gonna happen, and this, a lot of them were obviously done under the table because our bylaws and our plan don't allow for that. They only allow for an accessory to, on a lot with another building. So,
And this is where the bylaw will solve that.
well, and it's,
Hopefully.
it's
Once we hash it out.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's gone on, people are doing it regardless, and so we gotta address it.
But, yeah, very good, everything, so it's very clear in my head now which way I want to go. The one point that someone else brought to my attention was, we can have all these bylaws, but if we can't manage them, enforce them, if, like, again, someone brought to my attention that if you can't see them from the road, you can't enforce them either. You know, you can see them from the river, you gotta have an enforcement person point out from the river. Right? To let it go.
At least if we have the bylaw, we have something to back us up.
Yeah.
And the
Or
licensing would let you
whichever,
know
right?
who's doing what.
Yeah.
Like if there's nothing there, we have nothing to fight
Right,
with.
yeah,
If we get a complaint from somebody that lives beside one of the said encampments, then we're going, at least we can go that avenue,
yeah.
right? We have, I mean, we're not going to be able to afford a full-time bylaw officer. It'd be nice to hire one for a couple of years, clean everything up.
No
But
kidding.
you're always gonna, you know, laws are only for legal,
Yeah.
honest people.
Yeah,
I don't know.
honest people, yeah.
Well, and the other thing is, the bylaw was enforced on a complaint basis. And so, you know, we've had one complaint regarding that trailer park or whatever, but now they want everybody to, you know, if this is the way it's gonna be for me, then I want the same rules for everybody, but where do you start? You know?
Well, you just, one
There's
trailer at
hundreds.
a time, right? That's all
Yeah.
you can do.
But there's hundreds of trailers out there.
Yeah. I mean, you do one complaint at a time.
Yeah.
You're not gonna swoop down and get it all done in a day.
No. So we've got to hammer something out on this, like, I mean,
Yeah, and that's what Sarah.
Okay. I liked her report.
yeah, so did I. Could you send it to me again?
Sure.
Because I lost it. My tablet.
They lost.
Yeah, my tablet destroyed it for me. Other than that, the tablet's been working okay.
That's funny.
One of them trailers, you know, on the river road there for 2 years, he started his house there this week.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, there's one around the
You got-
corner.
yeah.
Either.
you gotta look at the pros and cons.
Yeah.
You know, we got some people that are obeying the rules
Yeah.
and others that just
I
flout
think-
the rules and.
North
say,
Shores
"Doesn't
have
it
laws
cost
for
me?"
if you're building that you're permitted to have your
Mhm,
trailer.
yeah,
And I
exactly.
think that ours already
It's
allows
in
for
there,
that.
yeah,
there.
it
It's
does.
there.
It's in there for
But there is
building.
a time limit, right?
Yes.
And how many trailers can be there when you're supposedly gonna be building?
Now, we may want to change, it's only good for a year, right? Once you get your building permit or something?
No, I think it's 2 years.
Sorry, building permits are good for a year.
No,
but-
no,
oh,
to allow to have a trailer on site
There, in
while
the
you're
annual,
building up.
oh, I'd have to look and see exactly how it's worded, but I thought it, as long as you're building, that it could be there.
Process is the way I.
And maybe
Yeah.
building permits are only good for a year, then you have to extend them if you're not done, so I mean,
Yeah.
Anyway, even if it's for 2, 3, 4 years, I don't have a problem with that.
And the licensing issue will
We'll cover
help
that.
control that too.
Yeah.
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 Noise is a bylaw issue, so if anybody's having noise issues, it should be the bylaw officer they contact regarding noise. If litter's an issue, the bylaw officer should be contacted. If excessive speed on the road is an issue, the OPP should be called. So we do have ways of dealing in the meantime with noise, garbage, and if there's excessive speed on these roads.
Again, though, people are reluctant to come forward and
Well,
speak
if
out
they're
against their neighbors.
If they're losing sleep, all they have to do is
Yeah.
make a call.
Did you have a comment back there?
Right here.
Yes,
Yeah,
sorry.
Just for I like what you're saying, but just for clarification, like when you're talking campgrounds, so you're talking a private property lot with 1 or 2 trailers
Yeah.
would be considered a campground?
No.
No?
I read in here from the township of the North Shore, it says at least 5 trailers
Yeah.
constitutes a
Oh.
campground.
Or
Okay.
exchange of funds.
So what you're addressing today doesn't address the issue with the trailers on a private property. It's not a campground per se, but it's, you know, the owner has a trailer.
That's what this is about.
That's what this is.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, so it is?
Yes,
Okay.
but
So-
not a campground. A campground is more of a commercial operation where they've got X number of
Yeah,
lots set up
yeah,
with
yeah,
multiple
right.
trailers. And that is permitted in the resource recreation zone right now,
Okay.
but not in rural.
But
So-
not in the rural,
Yeah.
okay. So that's what you're talking about then, is to.
To allow for individual,
To have 1 or 2 trailers.
Yeah.
Okay.
If they're licensed.
So, my other question is, like, let's say they do have a couple of trailers here now, and they go in and they get it rezoned. Okay, but they have the intention of building down the road. They have to go back and rezone again?
no, so it's not a rezoning, it's, if we move forward with this, to allow trailers in other zones other than resource recreation, then we'll pass a licensing bylaw, which will permit. So if you're not building, if you don't have a building permit, then you get your permit to have your trailer on your property. If you're building, you can have your trailer without a permit. That's an exemption. That would be an exemption to that bylaw, that you would be able to have your trailer there while you're building. But you have to have a building permit. You can't just say, oh, I plan to build.
Yeah.
You have to show the.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I get that,
Yeah.
but if you are planning to.
Yeah, so this
So
will
you
allow
just
you in the
went-
meantime to pay your license, have your trailer there for the couple of years until you're ready, and
Yeah.
then the year that you're building, you wouldn't have to pay the license.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay. Now, would that be a whole brand-new bylaw, or is this
Yes,
one?
the licensing bylaw will be a
Okay.
whole new bylaw under the municipal act.
It's sounding fair. Yeah, it sounds fair.
So how are we gonna sit down to sort this out, to decide how many trailers?
Well, I think Sarah will come with a draft,
Okay,
and then you guys can pick it apart.
Pick it apart.
okay.
Yeah.
So I got a question in the audience.
Give us
Is this licensing bylaw, is it gonna affect campers being parked in your yard?
No,
That you're used for camping?
no, not for storage. No, not for storage.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I'll read resolution. Be it resolved, the Council of Township Sables-Spanish River concurs with the memorandum from J.L. Richards regarding recreational vehicles and regulatory mechanisms, and further that we proceed with recommendation amendments to the zoning bylaw. So Ann, tell us what you're gonna do here.
So she-
Ask for a mover second.
So the zoning will be amended to permit the use of trailers for temporary habitation on a lot outside of a campground.
And temporary, right, you said?
Yes,
So
yeah.
people have to understand that, they can't set it up permanently.
Well, and we have to define that, like, is it, can you stay all summer? You know?
Well, so
Like-
most of them are like made to.
And we'll have to, we'll
Yeah,
have to.
we'll have to put
Specify that.
parameters on
Yeah.
the months available, you know.
Okay, so you're gonna advertise this there?
It'll be advertised, yeah, so then it would come to the July 27th council meeting. is the, I don't know, where did I put my, yeah. So she'll send that notice to me by next week, so that we can advertise in the July 5th issue of the Roundabout. And then the July 27th council meeting is when will be the public meeting for the zoning amendment. People have comments, they can have their comments. Council can take those into consideration, make their decision that if you, I assume you want to go ahead with passing that amendment to the bylaw. And then there's still a 20-day appeal period that anyone can appeal that bylaw. So once that is, we could anticipate a licensing bylaw and adoption of the zoning bylaw on the August 10th meeting. So that would give enough time to, I mean, you can, yeah, if there's an objection, I mean, council, if it's appealed, it goes to the tribunal.
And just so everyone knows, can they appeal it via email, in writing?
There is a form that it has to be completed that is from the tribunal, the website.
Okay.
There's a full package that they can download and complete. The appeal has to have the fee, which I don't remember, I think it's, I'm not sure if it was, it's gone up. It used to be like $300, I think it's something like $800 now. And they submit that to the clerk, but then I send it off to the tribunal, and then it's out of our hands, it's with the tribunal.
But with the first step, if we say, okay, we're going to do this.
If we
send it out,
pass,
and then
if
for
anybody,
people to,
yeah, if we pass the bylaw, to amend the bylaw, and somebody appeals, that's not appealed to us, it's appealed to the tribunal.
okay.
Yeah. So we make our decision, if somebody appeals it, they're doing, they can voice their concerns
Yeah.
during the meeting that council takes into
Yeah, that's what I
consideration.
mean.
But it doesn't, yeah, and those can be either in writing or verbally at the meeting. And then we make note of those.
An email is.
And email is,
okay,
yes,
and
sorry,
then-
yes.
okay.
The before
I
it's
just
passed,
wanted to
yes, you can do it that way. After it's passed, it's through the tribunal.
Yeah.
Okay, so not everybody gets the roundabout in all
No.
the areas, right?
Right.
Only
I
big
think
flyers.
people, yeah, so like
Only if
people.
you ask for flyers.
Yeah, and people like in Spanish that live in Walford, I don't think Spanish gets the roundabout.
That's right.
They get cuts off at
So I'm thinking maybe we should do
Website?
a mail out.
And a mail.
Yeah, okay, we can,
Something like that, yeah.
Then people can't say they didn't know.
that's right, yeah. But it's still only going to reach local
Addresses.
addresses. It's like, I mean, we don't typically put flyers in Spanish mail. We can add that. We always do Walford, Woodwood, and Massey. And we can include Spanish. But again, you're only going to get people that live here. You're not, but the roundabout, I mean, and our website, we'll have it posted as well. So those are other, I mean, we do the best we can.
Yeah. I just, that not everybody has a
Yeah.
computer
No,
in
no.
their house, so.
I mean, if council wants to do, like, we've just chosen the roundabout because it is a free circulation that
Yeah.
people get.
Yeah.
If council wants to put it in a different, like a monitor or,
Lake Standard or something.
or the Sudbury Star or something a little higher up, I mean, it's more money, but that's an option. It depends how wide of a circulation you want it to go. I mean, these aren't huge changes that people should be
Yeah.
objecting to, right? We're kind of making it more permissive
Yeah.
with these changes.
Well, it's gonna cost people money, when there's gonna be
Yeah,
people that
like-
are not happy.
But I mean, this is the zoning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The licensing bylaw the authority is under the municipal, section 164 of the municipal act. That is not up for appeal.
Right.
That, once that is, council enacts that bylaw, that is what it is. And then, so the zoning though,
Is what they,
is kind of what.
but it'd just be nice to reach. 'cause it's-
I think if we mail it to every taxpayer, we got our,
Yeah, but every
Covered.
taxpayer is 2,500 tax bills, and that's a huge, that's like doing a tax billing run, like that's.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not everybody lives in our area.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
very good.
I mean, we've got like quite a few from the States, and like, you know, if you look at every,
Oh, I
I mean, it's doable, but I mean, that's it's a huge amount.
I think it's not a high priority bylaw we're
Right.
doing here.
That, yeah, exactly.
It'll touch some people, but not
Yeah,
everyone.
I mean, word of mouth, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's pretty
my other question
Sure.
is, it's trailer licensing, so it'll be yearly, right? And so we don't change the taxation on the property.
No.
It's strictly
Doesn't.
a license.
That has no effect on your taxes.
So we have to make sure it covers our policing costs.
Yes. I mean, you're looking at the other two, I think Espinola's was around, I think they're both pretty close, like North Shore, I think was $750, and Espinola was around that, but if you got a discount if you did it before, so I think it's
Yeah,
$500 if you did it early.
something.
Yeah, so they're both,
Well, then we'll have to
Yeah.
decide on that.
that's right, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks, Sam.
Yeah, thanks for.
Okay,
More to come.
can we have a mover and a seconder
I'll
on
move
that?
that.
Kevin there? Cheryl? All in favor? Okay, be it resolved that pursuant to section 239-2 of the municipal act, we move into a closed session to consider the following: personal matters about identifiable individuals, including municipal and local board employees, labor relations. Now, the mover and a seconder? Edie there and Gail, all in favor?
Hold my hand up too long. I was writing it, that didn't
I thought you froze on Zoom.
I was writing, I can't do two.
It's recorded.
In regards to closed session, there was for information only there for councilors and tonight there with action being taken by Ann there. Anything else for tonight?
I don't have anything else.
Any?
I have some stuff.
I just wondered if we found out about the Sharps container. I was gonna ask about the light at the end of River Road and River Road West and Highway 17.
Okay, so start with the Sharps. We did get a bit of information. We're still trying to get pricing on another. But I had Linda reach out to the ES Carers, is the company that dumps it. They said each service, the bin was approximately 50% full. It's receiving lots of loose needles, which is nice, along with various household type containers, presumably filled with needles like plastic coffee bin, water bottles. There have been no complaints that he's aware of. February service was not completed due to large amounts of snow around the kiosk, likely reduced usage in the winter months.
So it's working there,
It
center
is.
of town, and if we move it to the other end, there's gonna be people that can't.
Well, he said he's also received inquiries for a few more kiosks in a 50-kilometer radius of this site. So it looks like the need is there. So we're trying to get some pricing on another one, and to find out if the health unit will pay for another one.
Well, they might.
You know,
They may.
if they have something now that they, you know, that they had that 2 years ago.
Excellent.
So, but now with the street lights, so the issue is there's not a pole right at the intersection.
Right.
And we need to find out from, I reached out to Mark Daub, who is Agency Pole Line. And I showed a little screenshot of the location. He was working away, but when he comes back, he's gonna take a look to see what our options are. If we have to put a pole in, he said MTO, they're still waiting 2 years for approval for a pole in one in Spanish and one in Huron Shores. So it may not happen right away.
So I took a look at it traveling east from Spanish.
Yeah.
And if the light had to be on the pole that offers the hydro right now, it would still be seen from the road.
Yeah.
It would still offer somebody the idea, hey,
The
there's
other
somebody up
closest
there.
pole is a bell pole,
Yep.
it's not a hydro
Yep.
pole.
So,
Yeah, Bell and Hybrid don't get
No, I
along.
understand, but,
And try to get a hold of Val for
Forget it.
anything.
but we could get it installed in that pole, but it wouldn't be the best application, am I right about that?
Yeah, I
It's
think
a
it's too far
bell
back.
pole.
It won't,
It's a bell pole, so they
no,
won't.
no,
there's
the
a
one
hydrant.
behind you. It's like
Oh.
60 feet, I think it's 60 feet away from the intersection.
Okay.
So it may
Because
not-
it's on a curve, like it's,
the way.
if worst came to worst, you definitely see
But
it from
he's
the
gonna,
highway.
we'll see what,
Okay.
he'll take a look and see what our options are for that. So it's not dead yet.
No,
but
and if
it's
it takes
still-
2 years,
Yeah,
that starts tomorrow,
exactly.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I had something else, I don't remember what it was.
Well, we have questions for Dale.
Yeah, okay.
Yes. Economic development meeting last night. We're planning a virtual fishing tournament the last week of August, leading into Labor Day.
10 days.
10 days.
When you say virtual,
It's virtual, I'm telling you. You pay your entry fee, you get an app on your phone, you catch a fish, you take the picture. The picture's time-stamped, it's also GPS coordinated, so it has to be in our township.
Or whatever parameters we set.
Whatever parameters we set, you know, say we want to go 100 miles circumference.
yeah, okay.
You know, whatever we want. It's gonna cost us a little, but I think it's, if we can do this and it's successful.
It's for township only, I'm assuming?
Yeah, whatever we want.
But you had one, or we had
We had
one.
one in the winter.
Yeah.
And how many contestants did we have?
17.
17.
A lot of people didn't know about it, didn't understand it.
Yeah,
Nice
and
fishing.
we got our foot in the door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is this another
Fishing is
thousand?
not as big as regular fishing.
Is this $1,000?
No, no.
$100?
It's 5,000.
Five.
But it's in our budget, it's in our economic development budget, we have the money.
And we still have enough money to put those veterans
Yeah.
things up
Yeah.
too?
Yeah, that's what we want to talk to you about.
So you want to put them on my poles? No,
So
you want to put the signs
who
up
was the
there?
contact for the veterans first?
Okay,
Who was that?
Harold Hobbs, here's his number.
So what's it?
Oh, the other Harold Fox.
Oh, that's another.
This is, no, one is Harry Hawks, and
Okay.
the other one is Harold Hawks.
Okay, I didn't know that. Okay, that's good. So we
Yeah,
need the.
yeah, he's got a cell number, so I'll give it to you right now.
Okay, so Amanda?
Amanda, that's it.
So his name is Harold Hobbs. He just sold his house in Aberdeen as a sold sign. And his phone number, which is cell, is 705-207-3943. And he's already done a lot of legwork on this. And
Well,
he's,
you mentioned the name and I couldn't remember.
okay,
So that's for the veterans banner. So second question is.
yes.
We need someone as a liaison to work with this Atlas Anglers Atlas, who's gonna set up this fishing tournament. There's minimal work, we just want someone local involved. So they'll have to decide, what the prizes are, the time limit, how they're gonna do it, biggest fish, smallest fish, stuff like that.
Hidden lake.
Yeah, any suggestions?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Why not team up with Sagamore, which put it on for 2, 3, 4 years, and we're all successful events.
Yeah.
And they're fishing, they're seeing waters that,
They didn't do anything last year. and
no, because of the,
COVID.
yeah.
Yeah, but we're afraid they're gonna start doing it over on their own land.
Yeah, but their land there is where our fellows are gonna be fishing as well, whether it's Cutler Lake or the Spanish River or,
Well, I'd love to include them, they'll be welcome.
yeah, but you must have some names there that can,
Oh, to the
I'm not aware of it. Somebody suggested Lane Kennard, I mean, I don't know, yeah, Lane Kennard is a
Yeah, he
fisherman.
spends a lot of time in the island.
Yeah.
Jeff Minton,
Jeff Minton.
he's anglers and hunters.
Is he a big fisherman?
Is he what?
Does he fish a lot?
No.
Well, I don't think he's fishing a lot, but he does a lot with,
Organizing,
well,
There.
pickerel.
his organizing.
So he works at with they do.
The hatchery, yes,
and that.
definitely.
Whereabouts? That's at your end?
Yeah, whereabouts does he live? Or where, yeah, he's out the,
He lives in
Sugar-
Walford.
Maybe Sugar Lake
Yeah,
Road.
yeah.
I was gonna
Okay.
suggest John Paquette from Wetwood. There's a
Well,
guy that,
that's a
Yeah,
couple of.
that's another choice.
there's a guy that's,
Yeah.
very capable,
Jeff, or his wife, I don't remember his wife's name.
Teresa.
Teresa, yes.
Mitten or Minton?
Minton.
Okay, I know.
With an E on the end.
Okay. So that's, we'll need to get phone numbers and maybe.
And there's one other individual locally that I think would gladly step up, and that's Alan Schwartz, and he fishes like twice a week.
That's a thought.
Yeah,
Yeah.
He's
I
well
was
known,
just
and
talking
he's, I
to
mean,
him.
he's all over that stuff.
yeah, good. See, this is a good meeting.
Yeah, well, that's why I said, let's talk at the
Yeah.
meeting and then.
Yeah,
Well, we saved the best for the last.
yeah.
Can't see the forest for the trees. I was talking to Alan Schwartz the other day, and it's like, at Moose Lake. So it's like, so that's 3 different names, like, I guess we'll task Amanda with calling those people to see if they'd like to step up to the plate, or should one of us?
Probably get it approved by council.
The minutes,
For her minutes, she hasn't handed in her minutes yet.
Well, that's, okay, yeah.
Like, I don't know if you want me to call them before it's approved or wait.
Well, I guess we can't.
Well, I mean,
I don't know
you could see
what-
if you can get somebody on board,
Okay.
and then if council approves it, then it's.
Well, that's what's my thinking.
Yeah.
Tell them it's tentative, but
Yep.
if they would agree.
Of the 3, I would think Alan.
I was just gonna say that too. Let's start with Alan.
He's out there lots.
And it's, apparently it's minimal amount of work. They might sit down with Al for a couple hours, or whoever, Zoom and so the prize money is basically made up of the entry fees. And I think Anglers Atlas takes 20% of the entry fee.
I have
On top
Alan's,
of the 5,000.
sorry for
But there's no work, there's no parking lots, there's no nothing. But we're still drawing people into the township because they have to fish us to the parking.
Yeah.
I have a cell number for Alan Schwartz if you'd like it.
Sure, I can get it out. I can get
Okay.
it.
So how about John Paquette, you guys can figure that out?
Well, it's just, he's retired, and I know he sails, and when he can, he sails.
Well, we'll do what we can to scope someone out and we'll go from there.
You know, Al's very community-minded. See, it fits his genre, but,
And he's been fishing it out.
yeah, he's all over the place, summer and winter. Was he one of the contestants in that winter one, I wonder? I guess, yeah, a lot of people were unsure of what it, just like me, when you said virtual, what is this? Do I hold a little fish, pretend fishing rod or something?
Something I called in about the other day. I guess we're having another situation like we have on Agnew Lake Road in Wetwood there.
With an easement to the lake?
No, with wood processing.
Oh,
Happening at Hill Crescent, which is across from Ocean.
yeah, who knows?
Well,
Yeah, okay, I'm gonna take a look
Someone
right-
related with the other operation. And it's like, what's going on? Everybody thinks it's Wild West and they can do whatever they want where they want, like. So.
Everybody's bucking firewood these days.
Can't get rid of the word filter.
Well, it's driving people nuts, though. People.
Oh, I hear.
Where did you say it was? I'm sorry.
Hill Crescent, which is
Across.
the other side of the Valley Road from Ocean.
South, would that be the south side, Kevin, or am I turned around?
It's on the south side.
You're right, yeah.
No, it's got Hillcrest Estates, I think it's called.
So, whatever, I think Ann's talking to our bylaw enforcement officer. Let's see where it goes. And, that's it for today.
But if it's a zone personal use there, no problem, is there?
Well,
Respect the noise bylaw hours, that's all right.
There's logs, loads of logs being brought in. So, it's not like it's clear log. You know?
Well, if there's complaints, he's gonna check it out.
Well, and there will be a complaint.
There was one other thing I
Okay, negative.
Oh, I know what it is. I went out the river road, that slip on that road, take a look at that. If if we get another slip, we're gonna lose some of our road, in my opinion. Am I not right about that, Les?
No,
Holy freak, that looks close.
no.
It looks straight down. What,
I totally agree there, but it's quite a ways from the road. I'd be worried there across from Chum Coles, because one of these mornings there, the road is going to disappear.
well, that's the area I'm talking about.
No, you're talking, where the slip was down by Pressos.
I understand, but it's by Chums where it's so close to the
Oh, I
road.
totally agree with you
So
there.
should we not be shoring that with whatever?
Yeah, that bank is 100 feet, how you gonna do it? And you can't get down in the water there, and you can't get the bank to get down there.
Well, maybe somebody out there can give us a suggestion before we do have to lose a person down there.
What's gonna happen there, you're gonna have to go up onto Chum Coles lawn, that's what you're gonna have to do, that road's gonna have to be moved up. And you got the hydro wires there and all that.
I mean, a big storm, it looks to me like we'd get
Oh,
a
I
dredge.
know.
We don't want to lose you either on your way home.
No, but,
Well, you see it every day anyways, right?
yeah, there's Pressos there, where the last slip
Yeah,
was there.
yeah, I know that's a
It's quite a ways
ways
off.
yeah, I did take a ride on River Valley Road. It's rough, but there's some drop-offs there that if you went over on an ATV or something, I'm wondering if we shouldn't put some signage up. I was gonna mention it next week in Public Works, but like, if you go over, you're not coming back. Let's put it that way. I just wonder, I mean, I don't think
Why,
there's,
they've been like that forever.
Yeah.
It's like-
well, I realize, but I mean, as people progress through it, I just, you know, a guy just got killed, a fatal accident on the Nash Lake Road.
Well, I wonder what happened there. That was on the rail bed apparently. But I wonder what happened there. You know, did he get too close to the edge and he kind of like,
But it should be marked.
Well, there's 3 spots that I'll tell you that are Widowmaker spots. You just creep to the edge, you'll get scared.
oh, I know them, I
Straight
ride
in that road
over
forever.
I'm just thinking for the cost of a couple signs to pound them in, just like I say,
Yeah, that's,
eh,
yeah, it's not a bad idea, Dale.
somebody out on a family drive on a Sunday and they're going down there, we'll be 2 weeks before we find them.
And in October, it turns to mush really fast.
That's all I have. Oh, I do have one other thing. I took a ride where that road, where the bridge is removed between our township and McCarroll. You know, McCarroll
Oh.
is
Yeah.
approaches.
Yeah.
I don't
Firehouse
know.
Road?
Is that what it, yes.
Yeah.
So I went down there, I walked to the, what you would call, I guess, the pilings or the pedestal at this end that the bridge sat on. I don't know if this is legit, if it can be done, but MTO is yanking out 4 Bailey bridges. Is there any chance we could reduce the load rating on that road and have a Bailey Bridge donated to us and put it up there for our emergency services that McCarroll is so anxious to see us contribute to? What if MTO gave us one of those bridges? Les, what do you think?
Still be a lot of money to put it in.
It doesn't look like a lot of deal. It looks like some material on both sides. And like I say, on our township side, it looks like a good shoring there already. And I've seen what they've set Bailey bridges on. I mean, they developed them for the war
Yeah, I
to
know.
run tanks. So
And there's nobody in our municipality in the last 10, 15 years completely told. It's only Baldwin there wants it as the,
an emergency road.
Emergency road, yeah.
Yeah.
And that road is so grown in, it's,
yeah,
you
they're far,
can't even see it.
yeah, they're far end of theirs.
Even ours, like you had to walk from the pole line.
I drove, I was right to the,
Did you?
yeah, when I got out.
To the pylons you were.
Yeah, I was looking at the
Okay, so
body of water.
somebody cleared the fall.
There's
across
ATV or side-by-side tracks, and then on the other side, you can see the hill,
Yeah,
which just
because
looks
I
like
just
it'd be.
walk from the pole line.
Okay,
It's nice.
I just thought I'd mention it because I know they're replacing bridges, and I mean, we can buy things for $1 from them sometimes, so just thought it might be something worth pursuing.
Or let me
The cost of fixing that road to be passable was phenomenal. It was like
Okay. I just thought for the
thousands
sake of
and
emergency.
thousands. Mark had done a study on it.
Okay, I had to mention it anyway. Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, be it resolved, the time is 8:52 PM, and this meeting be adjourned on the next regular meeting of the College of Sheriff. Mover and seconder, Dale and Kevin, all in favor? Carried.
Thanks, everyone.
You can tickle the fish out of that creek.
Is that right?
I can't tickle the fish, I've eaten the crawfish and the clams.
Wow.
I'm a forager.
You're a real outdoors girl,